You could sense the tension at that moment. There were no filters or phony smiles, just raw, unfiltered emotions coming out. Out as Rasheeda finally spoke what was on her chest. This wasn't a trivial quarrel. This was the type of breakdown that only comes when years of silent bitterness suddenly burst. And in the center of it, two women, Yandy and Rasheeda, who've always appeared like pillars of loyalty and strength. But something's been bubbling under the surface, and when the cameras rolled, they didn't hold back. Today, we're going deep into the intimate turmoil that just went public, analyzing every emotion, every glance, and every unsaid truth between these two. Why did Rasheeda feel betrayed? Did Yandy intentionally remove herself? And is this truly the end of a decade-long friendship? You're about to witness the moments they didn't want fans to overanalyze. But we're going in every clip, every syllable explained, because sometimes it's not about what they say, but what they don't say, and silence talks volumes. No dazzling lighting, no dramatic beginning music. Simply Yandy sitting down with a serenity that sounds forced, her tone gentle, too soft, like someone attempting to maintain a lid on a boiling pot. I feel like we needed a minute to discuss without everybody around, just so you already know when a Love and Hip Hop cast member begs for no cameras, it signals something important is going to happen. The fact that Yandy even stated it is a warning flag. This isn't just any chat, it's a setup for an emotional collision. But why now? Why this talk at this moment? I'm clear on music. I don't like Rasheeda's vibe. It's tight, not furious yet, but distant. Her initial words hit different. What's going on? She says it like she already knows something's wrong. This isn't curiosity, it's a warning. The body language between these two are weighty, neither leaning in, both sitting back and guarded, and that tells it all. This is not a catch-up session, this is a reckoning. And boom, Yandy is not just here to gossip. She is here because she is upset. And when people are hurt, they either cry or strike out, which Yandy chose. In the midst, she came with subtle shade packaged in sincerity. But Rasheeda catches it, and suddenly this becomes about Erica Banks, even though Erica isn't even there. In the room, Yandy brings her up casually, but we know it's not casual. This is the trigger, the moment that makes Rasheeda's countenance tighten, the moment that turns this conversation from confrontation. And right here is where most Love and Hip Hop quarrel originates, not over a great betrayal, but over someone else putting seeds between two friends. You can see she's irritated because when people say, "I didn't know," what they actually mean is, "Don't blame me." But in this environment where loyalties move every week, no one wants to be caught on the wrong side. So Yandy drops the "I heard" line. And that's when it gets really heated. Calling anything a rumor after bringing it up is a classic deflection. It allows her to plant the notion while claiming not to own it. And Rasheeda knows in her face, you see it, frees her patience. Done. That's profound. That's not just a dispute, but a moral line. Rasheeda is saying, you entertaining Erica, that's a betrayal of our whole code. And suddenly, this isn't about a battle. Nowadays, this is about who you identify with when no one is looking. But that's the point. Once harm is done, apologies can't fix it. Not when the cut is personal. And Rasheeda isn't here for soft talk. She's trying to keep back. This is humiliation on a national scale. Isn't just a divide, it's a breaking point. But it doesn't end there, because in the following section, we'll witness how Rasheeda's quiet transforms into flames. And someone will walk away with a heart full of remorse and a friendship that may never recover. There is a stillness that follows emotional betrayal, not loud or chaotic, but chilly. And in the minutes after Yandy dropped that fatal line, "We weren't best friends," something in Rasheeda cracked. It wasn't a shout or a slap. It was the sound of trust leaving out the door. For years, these two women have negotiated the ups and downs of reality TV. Their connection surviving cast drama, spouse scandals, and online shade. But this wasn't about Kirk. This wasn't about Erica. It was about them, two women who thought they had each other's backs, only to realize that maybe they didn't. Rasheeda sits still as well. The silence that only comes when your fury goes inward. Her eyes don't reveal hate, but a profound feeling of uncertainty. How could someone who was so close to her, someone she once confided in, suddenly become so distant? The betrayal wasn't, and Yandy had always been a trustworthy ally, someone who understood the pressures of being in the public glare, and someone who, despite all the turmoil, never appeared to turn against her. But suddenly, everything seemed different. Yandy's remarks wounded harder than expected, as if they were never actually on the same side. Asha attempts to keep her cool, but she can't ignore the anguish. The astonishment remains in the air, hanging between them. Yandy, on the other hand, attempts to explain, but her words don't seem to reach Rasheeda. Yandy feels trapped, and as if her every action is being analyzed in her head. She never wanted to hurt Rasheeda, but the damage had been done, and she couldn't go back and reverse it. I never claimed we were best friends, Rasheeda. I said you were my buddy. Yandy asserts, but her voice wavers. Of her remarks doesn't touch the same way anymore. It's as if something basic in their friendship has moved, and now the gap is evident. Rasheeda, who had always been there for Yandy through thick and thin, I can't help but question the authenticity of their friendship. Why didn't Yandy reach out when things were bad for her? Why did it take a confrontation with Erica Banks for Yandy to recognize her pain? The silence between them screams volumes. Rasheeda's emotional barriers are slowly beginning to develop brick by brick, and Yandy's attempts to bridge the gap appear too little too late. The fact is that they both care about each other, but compassion isn't always enough in the world. Live in where relationships move like the tides, and friends may swiftly become foes. Trust becomes more brittle than ever. Rasheeda's irritation builds, and it's not only because of Yandy's statements. It's the understanding that maybe their friendship wasn't as strong as she believed. Maybe Yandy wasn't as dedicated to her as she had been to Yandy. The animosity surges up, and for the first time, Rasheeda begins to doubt everything, as Yandy suffers with the aftermath of her own emotions. She didn't expect Rasheeda to respond this way. After everything they had been through, she assumed this would be just another dispute they could push through. But this was different. The weight of Rasheeda's hurt was real, and Yandy could feel it smothering the air around her. What had started as a quarrel over a battle with Erica Banks had turned into a deep divide, one that neither woman was prepared to cope with. I never phoned you throughout your troubles with Kirk, Yandy says nearly defensively. I didn't reach out. The tone in her voice says she's attempting to excuse her behavior in order to make sense of her own decisions, but Rasheeda isn't buying it. For years, Yandy has been the one to pull away when things got tough, but Rasheeda has always extended her hand first. Rasheeda has always tried to preserve the peace, to keep the friendship intact, and now Yandy was wondering why Rasheeda hadn't sought out first. The arrogance hurts, and Rasheeda's tolerance is wearing thin. This isn't a misunderstanding. It's a moment of recognition, a time when both women begin to notice the holes in their relationship. It's a terrible, unpleasant fact that neither of them is ready to confront. Not survive this. Yandy's dissatisfaction is evident now. She doesn't want to be viewed as the villain here. She wants to defend herself and tell her side of the tale, but it's tougher than she, though her attempts to defend her behavior don't hit the way she anticipates. Each statement appears to drive Rasheeda more away, and Yandy's fury transforms into self-doubt. Could she have handled this better? Could she have said anything different to relieve the tension? The answer is uncertain, but one thing is certain. Whatever happens now in their relationship, Rasheeda's mind speeds as she analyzes what Yandy is saying. Her thoughts are confused by the overpowering emotions of betrayal, uncertainty, and hurt. Why did this have to happen? They were meant to be there for each other always, but now it feels like they're on opposite sides of an irreparable divide. Rasheeda attempts to hold back her tears, but the weight of Rasheeda pulls away from Yandy, attempting to regain her calm. But it's difficult since the relationship they once shared is now on the verge of collapsing. Understand something crucial. She can't keep fighting for a connection that seems one-sided, and she can't keep engaging in a relationship when the other person isn't putting in the same effort. It's a painful pill to take, but truth she's facing, and as much as she doesn't want to acknowledge it, this might be the end of an era. Their friendship might never be the same again, But just as Rasheeda starts to close off emotionally, Yandy's voice breaks through. I didn't contact you because I didn't want to get involved in anything these people are saying about you. She continues in a softer, almost apologetic tone. This is a sensitive time for Yandy, where she eventually admits that maybe she's been avoiding the truth and hasn't been there for Rasheeda because she was terrified of the drama, fearful of the repercussions, and afraid of getting caught in the middle of a problem was not hers to clean up. Rasheeda's answer is abrupt. You should have called me regardless. You should have been there for me. Her voice trembles with the weight of hidden emotions. Yandy's words have struck. Rasheeda wants to believe Yandy, but the harm has already been done. There is now a gap between them that is difficult to heal. In that moment, both women know they have reached a crossroads. There's no going back to the way things were. They can't erase the hurt, misunderstandings, and betrayals. All they can do now is decide whether they're willing to restore what's been damaged or whether it's time to walk away forever. As the tension grows, the room appears to become colder, and both women are now standing opposing sides of an invisible line that has only grown more obvious with each passing second. What was once a cordial chat, however laden with irritation, has now degraded into something considerably more convoluted. Trying to stay composed understands that this may be the breaking point, while Rasheeda, still striving to hold on to her emotions, realizes that the basis of their relationship is cracking. Between them is heavy with unsaid words. It's not only the dispute over Erica Banks or the brawl that transpired at the concert. It's something deeper, something that has been fermenting for a long time, but has never years of hidden resentments, quiet judgments, missed calls, and times when they might have been there for one other but weren't, are all addressed, and everything comes pouring forward, and both women feel the weight of it. Rasheeda, still attempting to keep her position, turns to Yandy, her voice firm but laced with an evident sadness. You never contacted me, not when I needed you the most, not when Perk and I were going through our own difficulties, she adds, her words bearing a weight that feels greater than everything they've addressed up to this point. About the confrontation with Erica or the events at the concert, this goes beyond that. This is about years of feeling that she was the one constantly giving and reaching out while Yandy, her so-called buddy, remained mute. Yandy's face twists at the charge she knows. Rasheeda is correct. She understands that she should have been more present, but how can you acknowledge to failing your friend? Violating their confidence without entirely unraveling the delicate links that are left. Yandy wants to say something. Anything to explain herself to Rasheeda and make her understand why she pushed away. But the words do not come. Instead, there is simply a heavy quiet that hovers between them, stifling the place. I didn't know how to manage it, Yandy eventually admits, her voice barely above a whisper. I didn't sure what to say and didn't want to make matters worse. But Rasheeda's response is rapid, sharp. You shouldn't have attempted, and you shouldn't have been there regardless. The bluntness of Rasheeda's statements hurts, but it is the truth. Yandy, who has spent years in the spotlight, has always been recognized for her strength and steadfast confidence. But now Yandy is vulnerable, and for the first time, she feels the full weight of her deeds. Rasheeda glances at Yandy, her eyes steadfast. I get it, she replies, voice now tinged with resentment. You're busy. You have your own life, but Yandy, I needed you, my friend, and you were not there. There is a pause, a long, heavy stillness that stretches between them. The anguish in Rasheeda's eyes is clear, but so is the wrath. She can't just let this go, not now, not when. Yandy's eyes twitch, and for a brief time, all she thought she knew about their friendship is called into doubt. I'm sorry, I truly am. I simply didn't know what to do, she says, but it's too late. Rasheeda shakes her head, dissatisfied, as if the apology doesn't even matter anymore. Sorry doesn't fix anything, Yandy. Sorry doesn't erase the years of quiet, of being left alone when I needed you there. It is the fracture in their connection, the knowledge that apologies alone cannot fix the damage. Yandy's comments, however earnest, cannot restore the years of neglect, and Rasheeda, who has spent so much time putting others first, can no longer pretend that this friendship isn't taking a toll on her. But it's not only the past that weighs on them. It's the present, as this debate has as their chemistry has evolved. Rasheeda is beginning to wonder if this is even worth fighting for anymore. Is this friendship worth repairing? And is it worth putting energy into a relationship that has only brought her grief? She understands that the answer isn't, "I'm not asking for your apology," Rasheeda said, as straightforward as she once imagined. Says gently, "I just want you to understand why this hurts, and perhaps I'm just weary of trying." The words linger heavily in the air, and finally, Yandy stares at her, looking for something, indicating that this isn't the end, but she can't locate it. The tension in the room is tangible, and Yandy wonders for the first time if there is a way back. Rasheeda's eyes are filled with a calm resolution now. She's not seeking for closure, is not in the way Yandy may want. She is not waiting for Yandy to remedy things, to make everything right. She's come to grips with the possibility that this may be the end of their friendship. Where it was always heading, a gradual flame that neither of them could stop. "Maybe we," Rasheeda murmurs, barely audible, "I just need some space." Perhaps we need stop pretending that everything is oak when it isn't is a painful admission that feels like a door. Closing a chapter neither of them wants to close, yet sometimes distance is all you have left when the cracks in a Yandy's role in the relationship has grown too large to overlook, and she keeps silent. Understands Rasheeda has a point. She knows that things can't just go back to the way they were. But she doesn't know, is there any way to solve this? The weight of the situation is starting to seep in, and there's no quick way out. There is no easy remedy for this, and for the first time, Yandy is doubtful of what Rasheeda looks at her with genuine anguish in her eyes. "I think it's time we both just step back," she adds in a calm but forceful tone. "We'll find our way back to each other, or maybe we won't." It's not the resolution either of them longed for, but only thing left to say as Rasheeda walks away, leaving Yandy standing there. The weight of their talk hangs in the air, and the future of their friendship is uncertain. It's time for both of them to take a step back and find out what they truly want from one another, and if anything worth renovating. The air feels heavier now. What began as a simple misunderstanding, which should have been resolved with a few honest chats, has now blown into full-scale emotional encounter. Both ladies stand at a crossroads, gazing at the ruins of a friendship that had seemed impenetrable. Yet despite the hurt, the sentiments of betrayal are still lingering, and neither of them actually wants this to be the end. Yet sometimes endings happen whether you're ready for them or not. As Rasheeda walks away from the talk, her mind is racing. She knows that she's not the same person she was when they first met. Yandy, the years have toughened her, and she's no longer the naive lady who would blindly give her trust away. The years of her marriage, the ups and downs, have sculpted her someone stronger, more careful, and aware of where her true devotion rests. And right now, it doesn't lay with Yandy. "I've given too much," Rasha thinks to herself as she walks away. "I always put other people's feelings first. But what about me? How am I feeling?" She understands deep down that she deserves better than this, better than a one-sided friendship, and better than someone who only contacts you when it's handy for them. She's done everything before, been there for people without wanting anything in return. But this time, Yandy feels a personal connection to the truth. It's just as jarring. She's always prided herself on being the strong one. She has her life in order and can deal with whatever comes her way. But in this, when she feels weak, she feels vulnerable. And more than anything, she feels as she's lost something essential. Not only her relationship with Rasheeda, but also the trust that comes with it. The link that she believed was unshakable has fractured, and it can't be restored with a simple apology. Happened to us, and Yandy wonders how we got here. She's had her own shared disputes and confrontations, but this one feels different. At the end, she stares down at her phone, hoping for a message from Rasheeda, a simple text expressing that everything is going to be okay, and that they can work through this. But as minutes change into hours and hours turn into days, the quiet becomes deafening. There's no message, no phone call, no evidence of reconciliation. So Yandy's mind begins to spiral. Did she overreact? Was there anything else she could have done? If she had sought out sooner before things got this bad, In a moment of weakness, she picked up the phone. He dials Rasheeda's number, thinking that this call would be the one that repairs the harm, but it goes directly to she leaves a phone message, her voice trembling as she struggles to fight back tears. "Hello, Rasheeda. I just want you to know that I'm extremely sorry. I never intended to harm. You mean more to me than you'll ever know. I sincerely hope we can repair this. I simply want my pal back." The seconds tick by as Yandy glances at his phone. Waiting for an answer, she hopes for a miracle that Rasheeda will pick up the phone and claim that everything is good, that they can start afresh. But the quiet lingers, the weight of the situation suffocating, and the friendship seems to be drifting further away from her reach in the days that follow. Neither of them reaches out to the other, calls are not made, and messages are left unanswered throughout the world. They keep rotating, but within, both ladies are stuck in their own thoughts, dealing with the unpleasant truth of the situation. The longer they go without communicating, the harder it gets to find a way back to each other. Rasheeda is dealing with the aftermath in her own way. Spends time pondering on the years of their friendship, wondering where things went wrong. Was it one particular event that precipitated this rift, or was it something that had been simmering beneath the surface for a long time? She wonders. If she had have seen this coming, she would have done something else. But she knows deep inside that the flaws were there all along, ready to be disclosed. "I trusted her, but now I don't know whether I'll ever be able to trust somebody as much as I trusted her." It's heartbreaking, realizing one that she's not ready to completely embrace. She still wants to think that individuals are capable to change. Friendships can be repaired, but she also knows that she can't keep returning to the same harmful patterns that she can't retain, pretending that everything is all right while it's not. While Yandy is commencing to come to grips with the concept that maybe this is simply the way things are supposed to be, or maybe this is the end of their companionship, and no amount of apologies or explanations can undo what she spent. She spent so much time trying to make things perfect and cure the unfixable. But now she wonders whether the best thing to do is just let go. Sometimes letting go is the only way to go ahead, she says. Even if she claims they don't feel true, letting go is hard, especially when it's someone you believed you'd never have to say goodbye to. She hopes that they can still be friends, that there is a chance for reconciliation. But in her heart, she understands the truth. Sometimes people grow apart, and there's nothing you can do about it. Days go by and the quiet, both ladies continue to manage their lives, attempting to go ahead. But it's evident that something fundamentally, they are no longer the same folks who shared amusement and side jokes and late nights. Night chats, the friendship that once appeared to be a secure sanctuary, has now become a source of grief and bewilderment as the weeks pass. None of them reaches out. Animosity remains in the air, and emotional wounds remain. Neither lady is willing to be the first to apologize, but both are frightened that if they do, they would accept defeat. The standoff is a game of emotional chicken, and neither of them wants to lose. As time passes, it gets more difficult for both of them to ignore each other's absence. They may be trying to move forward, but the fact is that they're both trapped in the past and both desire closure. But neither understands how to acquire it, which is ultimately what makes the quiet so unbearable. The stillness that has extended between Rasheeda and Yandy is deafening, but it bears a weight that neither lady can escape. They both recognize that this silence isn't just the lack of speech. It's the end of each day that passes feels like the end of a chapter that neither of them is quite prepared to let go of. Tiny eternity, while they both wonder if there would ever be a moment when they can transcend the gulf that now divides. The fact is that they've both committed errors, but recognizing them feels giving up. Seems like yielding to the possibility that perhaps this bond was never as strong as they thought. It was they can't shake the feeling that maybe they weren't really friends, but simply two individuals who were. Yandy is satisfied with the status quo, and the grief of losing Rasheeda fades. Beyond the bond, it's about the breakdown of all she thought she understood about herself and in the world around her. She believed she was indestructible, capable of weathering any storm and handling any crisis. Yandy is now confronted with the truth of the situation. Forced to confront her own flaws, There is a certain type of vulnerability that comes with public in a life where every feeling and behavior is scrutinized. Yandy recognizes she has been exposed and that she is not the perfect woman. She portrayed to the world that she, like everyone else, is an imperfect person, and trying to keep it all together, she spends the following several days ruminating on her actions and wondering where she went. Wrong? Did she push Rasheeda too far? Was it her pride? Her need to be right? Caused this separation? She understands that she could have sought out sooner and been more aggressive in fixing the issue before it worsened, but it's too late. The harm has already been done. Rasheeda, on the other hand, is still reeling from their talk. She feels let down by someone she previously considered a friend. She can't escape the idea that Yandy doesn't comprehend what she's going through. How that Yandy wasn't there when she needed her the most. Rasheeda, the betrayal is not only about what happened in the moment, but about all that came before it throughout the years. A friendship, the late-night discussions, the shared experiences, all of it feels tainted now, and she wonders whether simply an illusion, if she was simply a placeholder in Yandy's life until somebody better came along. She attempts to reach out to other pals, but the truth is a harsh pill to take that she must accept. No one can fill the emptiness that Yandy left. It's not only about the relationship itself, but the emotional connection they had. She trusted Yandy with her innermost secrets, insecurities. Now she feels like she's been left to confront things alone. How can I allow myself become so close to someone who doesn't care about me in the same manner that I care about them? She wonders, the query ringing in her head. It's a question she doesn't have an answer to, and one that weighs heavy on her heart despite everything. Rasheeda still wants to forgive Yandy, and she wants to think that there is hope for them. Relationship that maybe the scars would heal with time, and they may resume up where they left off. But deep down she understands that it is not that simple. Trust, once destroyed, is not readily rebuilt. So both women continue to go on, navigating their lives without each other. Rasheeda pours herself into her career, focused on her music and expanding her business. She understands that she must keep moving forward, even if it implies that without Yandy by her side, she relies on her family and admirers, and the people who have always been there for her. She knows that she is not alone, even if it sometimes feels that way. Yandy also pushes herself into her work, but the weight of the circumstances hanging over her. She's learned some difficult things, the most painful of which is that not all friendships are intended to last. Some are ephemeral, passing through your life for a cause, while others they leave a mark. And Yandy has a scar from a friendship that was never as strong as she assumed as time passed. As Yandy comes to terms with the truth of the situation, there is no turning back and reversing what has been done. The divide between her and Rasheeda is too profound to be repaired with a simple apology, and nonetheless, a little part of her remains hopeful that one day they'll find their way back to each other. For the time being, both ladies are left to deal with the consequences of their shattered relationship. Friendship, sadness, rage, and regret are all still present, yet they're starting to recede into the background, replaced with a peaceful acceptance that life goes on. Even though it may not, Rasheeda and Yandy are learning how to navigate a world without each other, as they envisioned it. The media has a field day with it, and the tabloids are full of conjecture. Fans take sides over what truly transpired between the two ladies, with some blaming Yandy and others blaming Rasheeda. Others are stuck in the center, unsure of who to believe, but in the end, the only people who genuinely know the truth are those who have lived it. And for Rasheeda and Yandy, the truth is straightforward if terrible. Even the strongest friendships might fall apart at times, but it doesn't diminish them. Genuine, but also makes them more complicated as they continue on their different paths. Both ladies are left to wonder what could have been if they had handled things differently, communicated better, and been more honest with one another, yet those questions stay unaddressed, lost in time, by circumstance, and thus the curtain closes on Rasheeda and Yandy's friendship. It's a melancholy finale, one that leaves them both with more questions than answers, but life marches on and they move with it, both learning something worthwhile. Lessons along the road. It's a difficult fact that they both must embrace as we reach the last stage of in this convoluted drama. The consequences of Rasheeda and Yandy's split are beginning to unfold in a way neither of they anticipated. Their damaged relationship, which was once a cornerstone of their lives, to be a cause for great transformation, both emotionally and professionally. Both women are evolving, but in distinct ways. They find themselves at a crossroads. After a few weeks, they are questioning everything they ever believed to be true about their lives and relationships. Distance from the emotional impact has begun to refocus her emphasis back to her business and is working harder than ever. Despite devoting her time to her enterprises and public appearance, she hasn't forgotten about Rasheeda or the sorrow of losing their companionship. It's simply that right now she has no other choice than to move forward, so she tosses herself into her efforts by appearing on television, holding events, and working relentlessly to keep her reputation. Yet deep down there is a sensation of emptiness, the hole. The void caused by her broken connection with Rasheeda cannot be filled by her career or her prosperity, surrounded by others, but the solitude she feels is evident. Nobody knows her like Rasheeda did, and that vacuum persists despite her exterior achievements. As the days pass, Yandy comes to realize that the tale she's trying to build about her life, the one where she's always in charge and constantly going forward, was just a facade. Begins to recognize that genuine power isn't about being flawless to the outer world, but about accepting through vulnerability and honesty. She begins to open herself to a few close pals. Admitting her challenges and regrets is a modest but essential step for Yandy, who spent so much of her life defending her image from the public light. And even as she begins to develop, she can't help but ponder what may have happened if she and Rasheeda if they had handled things differently. Would they still be close? Would they have worked out their differences? Rasheeda's questions resound in her head, but she knows they will never be entirely addressed. On the other hand, has chosen a different route. She spends her time away from Yandy, focused on her family, and despite the sadness she feels from losing her dear friend Rasheeda, determined not to allow this to break her, she puts her energy into her music, putting her emotions into her songs. Using the sorrow and disappointment as fuel for her creative process, Rasheeda's journey is not only about her career development, is about restoring her control. The betrayal she received from Yandy has led her to re-evaluate her own limits. She now recognizes the need of creating boundaries to safeguard her emotions. She has learned to trust herself more and not rely on others for things that may not be in her best interests. Validation or support for Rasheeda's transition is also very personal. She comes to rely on her family more than ever, realizing the necessity of having a solid support system outside. Despite the gloss and glamour of the industry, she reconnects with her origins and spending time with her children and rebuilding the connections that are most important to her is an inspiring experience that, despite the suffering, she is able to recuperate and retake control of her life. Rasheeda finds courage in hardship. She's learned to hold solid in her ideas and believe herself even when others disappoint her. This experience has changed her, but not in the way most would assume. Rather than becoming bitter or angry, she becomes more resolute in her convictions. She no longer feels she doesn't need to prove anything to anyone since she knows what she's worth. Women have grown in different ways. Yandy's journey is about discovering. Rasheeda's journey is about recovering her vulnerability and recognizing that it's acceptable not to have all the answers. Her power and learning to protect herself even when it appears like the world is conspiring against her. The media continues to speculate about their falling out, but it's evident that both Yandy and Rasheeda are considerably more than just headlines they produce. These are women who have endured betrayal, disappointment, and personal growth. They have learned to, despite the mayhem surrounding them, they have emerged stronger, more self-aware, and more. They are more determined than ever. Yet the question remains, will they find a way back to each other? Or is this the end of their friendship? Only time will tell. But for now, both ladies are going on. They are establishing new lives, generating new possibilities and learning. They may no longer be in one another's lives, but they have each learned to trust themselves in ways they never imagined possible. Grow stronger for it today. We want to know your opinions about Yandy and Rasheeda can ever rebuild their shattered friendship, or has their bond been irreversibly destroyed? What do you think? Their personal progress will affect their futures. Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to be informed on the newest news. You don't want to miss what occurs.